Kyle has been away for too long. I'm about to remove him from that bumper because I think he needs to be replaced by Joseph. Joseph has become a co-start member of the trio of the Weekly Wowos. Yeah. But welcome to another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. I know you missed us. We've been away for a while, but due to some technical problems, that's why we were away. But now we are back to bring you all the best stories you've been able to read on Kawowo Sports. And I'm your weekly host, Dennis Msali. With me, I have rugby resident expert, connoisseur, Joseph Muhonza, and also the editor of Kawowo Sports, Mr. Franklin Kawero. A lot of stuff to talk about. Vipers out of the Champions League. Not Vipers alone. Yesterday I saw Orlando Pirates sort of bowing out after penalty shootout. Yeah. But Vipers out of the Champions League. The dictator will not go away. So they are in the series in the NBL finals against the Blazers. Franklin will tell us everything about that. Yep. As well as Impis is winning. I do not know if we have enough time for Joseph because Impis is winning. If we are not winning, I'm sure he will just pass by the story. But today he will tell us the full details of how the mighty Impis was able to overcome the Victoria Sharks in the Uganda Cup. And the Victoria Pals as well completing a clean sweep against the visiting Canadian women's team. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to unpack today. But first, as always, let's start with your starters. Let me start with Joseph.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Obviously, my starter of the week comes from rugby. And this is specifically about the Heathens who visited Kitgum. And when they went, they didn't just go to play rugby. They also did some sort of CSR, visiting a hospital ward and donating a few things here and there, which I think was a very good gesture, a class act from them. So kudos to Heathens. That's my starter.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of sports actually doing this. I think sports is starting to learn that there has to be something more than just a sport about you. We saw what happened with the Irish team that visited Uganda. They did some CSR work. So that's a good thing to see that sports is learning that how do we
benefit the community.
Yeah, how do we benefit how do we get the community involved, but how do we sort of how do we leave a legacy of our visit? You can go to Kitgum and beat the team. And then that will be, you will never be remembered for anything. But when you do something like that, then everyone will always will reference you to that rather than even the victory. They'll be like, that team, it beat you guys, but they gave us or something.
Yes,
so that's very, very good to see, and well done to the Heathens team. Desire Dekford Mugumisa and the rest of the team. I'm assuming that he was involved.
My friend Lucy Subi, I think that was the idea because you can't count very many people at Heathens that would sort of come up with such brilliant things. But I think Lucy, you did well. Congrats to you and congrats to the rest of the team.
Yeah, Mike, make sure you chop this one out for Lucy. Yeah? But Joseph has started with some bit of violence. But please calm down. I know we've been away for a while, so but we shall pour some water on you. Right. Franklin, you started for this week.
Many things, but I want to, after the noise that preceded the Blazers going to represent the country at the BAL qualifiers in Tanzania, it was pleasing that they made it to the Elite 16, the next level after what they did, but one thing that stood out, I think, during that two-game tournament was the fact that they had one game in which they enjoyed. They scored over 120 points. That is hardly seen at that level, even when you're playing against the weakest of teams. But I thought the opposition was very, very weak. But Obleng had a party, throwing down dunks here and there. And when you score 39 at that level, obviously there is a lot of following around it. They will remember that he had a breakout performance of 39 points. That was huge for them. Now the journey just starts.
Yeah, and something I noticed during the games. One was, of course, Tony Drebo on the touchline. You explained that. I don't know, did they also travel with those those things. They're what are they called? Mascots.
Mascots.
I saw them. I don't know if they just the mascot of Uganda contacted and said, "Man, do you have someone there with the? You have someone there with the red balloon, and he sorts me out." Eh?
Yeah. I think one of the things that NRG changed around now players is kind of trying to bring that fun around their games, and I mean for obvious reasons. They are kind of trying to create that kind of vibe, the youthful kind of vibe around their games. And for me, I think mixing basketball and some bit of fun and seriousness, I think if I call it that, I kind of gives basketball.
I'll tell you, in the first game they lost Bambi, the mascot was also...
You could see
The mascot needed the mascot.
The vibe boy.
It was sad. But you see, that's by the way, in that game, it's where you get to know that in whatever you do, there are levels. There are some City didn't have. I mean, one of their top players didn't have even to play as good as we know it can be. So Diabate, he was just easing into the game, dish a little bit here, take a shot if you want to. Even when the person is playing so casually, like you could see it on him that he's not even trying so hard to compete. Like basketball was coming to him so naturally that I mean there are some fans who were kind of encouraged by what Namble has put out in the first quarter or the first half, but when that City saw that they are trying to be serious, let us
in the fourth quarter they completely blew us away.
Yes.
And sort of relaxed us to 1 minute when Lamblazers was able to score a couple of points, but in the end it was a show of might by Dar City. Franklin starter and my starter this week will be again it's from cricket, but also another CSR activity that was done by Uganda Cricket Association. The Victoria Powers together with the Canadian women's team visiting Gaza High School. Very, very impressive. When Uganda now went there, the idea was to only have just about 150 girls showing up. So we go with the 150 t-shirts. Then the teacher, when the teacher sees the t-shirt, is like, "Naya abana mulese t-shirt maker like I tulese nyingi 150." Like, naye ngate banji. So we ended up having over 300 kids in S1 and S2 coming through to learn the game. It was so impressive for me, and I felt that these are schools that Uganda cricket needs to be intentional about involving in sport, because one, they have the facility, they have a whole cricket over in their school, and I mean, because these are also kids who later on in life could be in positions of influence. You want to catch them young. Once they are able to sort of follow up on the game, you left a stain in their minds when you were in school, they can be able to support you. So I think that was a very, very good idea, and I hope they got inspired by seeing national team players. The most excited people, I think, were the Canadians. For them, these are luxuries in their country.
They don't
First
get
of all, they had to bear with the traffic of they were staying at Fairway, going through the traffic all the way up to Gayaza, and then just meeting up with girls. It was very sunny for them. The sun is also something that is rare. They had actually refused to leave until their coach got angry and it's like, "Guys, man, we need to go tomorrow, have a game and prepare." But they were so happy about the whole experience, and I really like the whole experience, and I hope that Uganda Cricket is able to follow up on such initiatives. It's one thing to do it as a one-off, and then it's a whole different thing for you to be intentional about it and keep following up. So I felt that Uganda Cricket did a good job on that, and hopefully maybe in a year or two we can be able to see some girls on the national team from Gayaza.
Absolutely, especially in a period where it's been a while since they weren't even the girls cricket week. They're just like now another team that comes to participate.
Exactly.
And know that.
And the truth of the matter is, women's cricket in Uganda actually started in Gayaza, was anchored there. But somehow when other schools started taking it up, they sort of fell off. But they've won 4 schools championships.
And for me that is what, not just limited to cricket, but most of the urban sports, if I call it that, there are not very many. with urban sports, you want to take them to traditional schools, the schools that can afford to have these sports disciplines in their schools. Obviously, academics is important, but when we know the traditional rugby schools, we know the traditional football schools, we know the traditional basketball schools, and now when you get to cricket and you're taking it to Gayaza, again, reigniting it in Gayaza, obviously you want to see it in Namagunga, you want to see it in Nabisunsa, like schools that have facilities ready.
Yeah.
The schools that were started back then, not just in a container and all that. I think when you do that, the pool of players that you get out, I think, grows a little bit.
I had a chat with the FOFA CEO, and he mentioned that is one of the reasons why they started the FOFA TV Cup, and it's only played by traditional schools. So I didn't even know that, but he said it's only played by traditional schools. So for you, it will be hard to find, no offense to anything SS in that tournament. Everyone else is either a college or high school. So it's only played by the traditional schools because they're trying to make sure the traditional schools, first of all, have a lot of space. And you want to make sure they're the guys who are involved in the sport. I think when you leave it to capitalism, some of the traditional schools fall by the way. For example, in media, I never ever remembered us being any competitive in football. But I mean, there was a school team, but we were never going to get close to.
You can't go anywhere beyond Ginger.
Ginger is even Ginger itself getting into the quarterfinals was always a problem.
Yeah, but now you see schools like, for example, Namilyango College.
Yeah.
It is not even producing national team players, so it's really important for those those schools to sort of take part in those sports. Now, for example, like the SMAC team that won about a year or two ago. 2 or 3 of those kids are right now playing at Impis, including the fullback Darren Aine, who was their goalkeeper in that winning season. So yeah, that's also another good initiative on that front.
Okay, interesting. Good enough that we get to make sure that the traditional schools are playing. But to dive into the conversation right now, maybe let's start with the cricket and get it out of there. With the Victoria Pals, Franklin, clean sweep for them, 5-0. Yep. Impressed or not?
As expected, first of all. Impressed? No, not very much. We'll take the series sweep, but not the performance particularly, to be honest. Especially when we put into bat. I didn't really like the decision of even when we won the toss, we chose the safe option of bowling and limiting the opponents to a small total and all that. Obviously, Coach Deus Mohamza defended that decision. They needed to first make sure the series are secured and then they could explore that. But even when we got the option of batting, when we were put into bat, I don't think the team showed any sort of readiness to take on bowlers. They were not very, very intentional about their batting. They were very conservative. And it is even worrying that one of your, who has been getting new runs recently, Esther Iroku, didn't contribute that much. Obviously, your captain, pretty much the top wasn't holding any kind of stuff. You begin to wonder what happens if, let's say, Rita hasn't shown up on her day. When you score against less opponents like that and you cannot even hit the 120 runs margin, that leaves a lot of questions in how your batting really is doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be satisfied if Uganda had blown away Canada. The truth of the matter is we should have blown them away. Yep. They are ranked 31st in the world. We are 18th. So if we had blown them away, sometimes it would be comfortable with the 5-0. But we sort of just got over the edge. And I wrote a story today. If you check on Kawowo Sports, you'll be able to find it. Just giving a summary about the series that for the coaches now, they must be thinking, how do we get the girls to be a bit more brave, especially when you're going to play better teams at the Emerging Cup. Yeah. And then the bowling was decent enough because Canada never scored anywhere below more than 89. Yeah, so that is okay. But we're now at the level at which now it's not the bowling that wins you games. It's mostly you go to score runs. You have to put runs on board. And if your team is putting only 113 was their highest total against a team you'd say the minnows of Canada, and then you sort of you have some growing pains.
Yeah, and by the way, in that under 13, you could look at the runs that the Canadians were giving away in the field. Not missed charges, but ground balls that they can't pick up. Just letting the ball pass where they can pretty much pick it up, and you get an extra run in between the wickets. I don't think when you even look at the totals, they can even be deceptive. When you look at the actual runs that should have been scored, you're talking 90.
A better team could have scored less than 130.
Less than 100, yes. They were gifts. Most of the runs were just gifts in midfield. Because when you play an inning and you don't get a boundary until the 13th is over, come on.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any sort of intentional batting that is happening out there.
Yeah, a lot of work to do for the Victoria Pearls, especially one impressed Franklin Kawowo. He means well. Not that he's on a critique, but he means well. I think he wants to see the guys. The Emerging Cup, something we have spoken about. Joseph, you want to say something?
No, I think it's very hard to impress Franklin. So it will take a lot of work for the Victoria Pearls to really impress Franklin. But then I think they picked a few key lessons that they will be taking into the Emerging Cup. Dennis, maybe tell us.
Yeah, the lessons. For example, we saw Jen Naomi Amongin had a terrible debut in Namibia in the one game she played against Tanzania. Yep. And for me, I was worried for her a bit. I thought that could be her only game she'll ever play for Uganda. It looked like a setup. I thought that would be her only game she would ever play for Uganda. But I think the coaches have seen something in her. She was put back into the team, and she bowled brilliantly. I think she was one of their better bowlers, her and Kevin Amuge. So I think that was something that will boost her confidence. If she gets into the team to Thailand, that will boost her confidence because they're going to play much better teams in Thailand. But at least now you go into in Namibia, she was on. It was her debut, first time she's on. She's playing in those conditions. But now at least she has some gas in her legs. Yeah. Maybe she can be able to do well. But the problems for the Victoria Pearls are only with the batting. I think the rest of the things they can work around with. They just need to show more urgency with their batting, which was sort of missing in this tournament. I don't know if it was they were thinking about the weather too much. The outfield was also a bit heavy. But you want them to be a bit more positive. You just be positive. You can show intent. Even if you get out, people will understand that you are trying to show intent. But if you're a bit, it can also show that you're not trying to do anything. And that's what Franklin was trying to mention. So you sort of get 100 runs, which is just 5 runs every over, but maybe you got 2 singles and 3 extras. So that's where they just need to work on, and hopefully they can be able to sort that out before the Emerging Cup.
When Dennis talks about the opposition that they are going to be facing in the Emerging Cup, like he speaks about it as something like some of the oppositions what the best we had to offer first in Abu
Dhabi, yeah.
And
look, the teams in that tournament. You have the UAE, you have Thailand, you have Thailand, the hosts. Of course, you have Namibia, you have Tanzania, Scotland, Netherlands, PNG, and who am I forgetting? I think I mentioned the UAE. No, those are some of the teams in that tournament, but all of them, okay, plus, of course, number 8 will be Uganda.
And just for remind the viewers that UAE has just beaten
Zimbabwe, yeah. They've just beaten Zimbabwe in a series. And they've just been playing PNG. PNG beat them in one of those games, so even PNG who were targeting, clearly, right now. So, in that tournament of 8, Uganda is actually like number 7, just above Tanzania.
My worry is medium pacers were Kevin and they lose balls of Naomi. They will be cleared for boundaries.
For big ones.
And by the way, Uganda might go there as the weakest team. I mean, Tanzania just beat us the other day. So
recent bias favors Tanzania.
Yeah.
So a lot of work to do, but that tournament will be from the 17th up to the 1st of December in Thailand. I understand Thailand is a beautiful country. When the cricket fails, you can do other things. You can do other things.
You have intentions of joining the girls over there?
We'll see about that.
Put me on the plane.
Yeah, if I'm there, the viewers of Weekly Wowos will be the first to know. But that's a cricket conversation, and let's move on very, very quickly onto the basketball. The dictator is not going to go away quietly.
Whoa.
2-0 up in the series in the finals of the NBL. City Oilers having that advantage against the Blazers. I don't know whether Blazers worked against themselves. First saying we shall not play, and then you're allowed to play. Then you're 1-0 down. Then maybe the day you wanted to play, you show up, you 2-0 up. I don't know if they worked against themselves with that indecision or whether to play or not. But advantage City Oilers, they're 2-0 up, Franklin.
Yeah, I'll start with I don't want to call it drama, but some bit of drama that followed the opening of the series. Obviously, everybody knows that when they were going for the BL, there was communication that they would resume the finals on Sunday 26th, which was yesterday. Obviously, later on, after the federation discovering that the opponents in the BL are going to be very few and the games are going to be done very fast, they decided to pull the fixture down to Friday. Of course, when you're planning your itinerary as a team, read the work, you're booking, like, I'm going to go up to this date and then I'll go back to Canada, because well knowing that you're going to start on Sunday. But obviously, lucky enough, the team was in the country 2 days, I think, before Friday. I think they were here on Wednesday, I think. And I mean, they kind of wanted to make it clear that we were not kind of ready to play on Friday, but I mean, they looked into themselves and they reversed the decision. They reversed the decision. Of course, they made very many considerations, the fans, and what the atmosphere has been around, talking that they always taking the negative side. There's some sort of fight between them and the federation and kind of stuff, and they consider to play now. Obviously, all that time, Steelers had been focused on that's the finals and nothing else. I want to believe that in that Friday game, Still Oilers were the better prepared team for that game than non-Blazers. Obviously, when you make a communication like that and then you make a decision to play, obviously you're not going to get into that game when you're mentally set, and it showed when they were on the floor playing. They did not play particularly well, and anybody who is surprised that they lost that game, I think. It just holds them in very, very high standards, holds non-Blazers in very high standards if they're surprised that they lost the opening game. I thought they did not take care of the basketball very well, and when you're playing against top opposition quality, you're always going to be punished when you don't take care of the ball. And so that game one was pretty much showing how ill-prepared they were as a group for that game, with just how they were playing out there.
You just assumed that they would come into that game, into the final, with some form from the BL, from the BAL. But I don't know, does it feel like City Oilers has something to prove? That's why they want to win this final. That's why they're desperate to win the final.
I don't think so. If there's anything to prove, I think both teams have everything to prove. City Oilers want to prove that they are the best in the country, but also Blazers have to prove that they were deserving to go to the BL, or they're deserving regular season leaders and all that. And obviously, when you have the old boys this side, they obviously have a thing or two to prove. For Star Oilers, for them, it is winning or nothing, especially for the management. Haji is all about winning. Whichever player he brings in, the target, the requirement is one: we have to win, nothing else.
All or nothing.
Whatever it takes, we have to win. And obviously, you can see the two guys that they added, the two guys, Chad Bowie and Kat Curry. They are playing like they came here. They are here for business, you know, and that's what they did. And it even gets harder when it comes to finals, and that's when big players start showing up. You know, when Chad Bowie was not playing particularly well before the series. He came into game 1 and scored 27, and you know, like that's another thing. Like I'm here, okay. Forget about what has been happening and all that. I'm now here, and we are here to win this championship. That's why we're signed to get here. And I don't think Nambles has responded well, I think, defensively to that. And it is the same thing that happened with game 2 as well last night. They were not playing particularly well defensively. One of the, I think the most common and easiest ways of team scoring in basketball is by creating mismatches, and that is mostly through screening and all that. When you look at the type of screening and how State Oilers were getting everything they want in a screen, you bring the ball up, I want the weak defender, Yabeda Konze, take a screen, and then that is what happens. It was, I think their screening, ball screen defense was very, very, very poor. As when I said they were poor, like, I'm being conservative, but they were extremely poor with the screen defense because State Oilers got everything they wanted. Whatever switch they wanted, they got it. And you're not going to win a finals game like that when you're playing that kind of defense. You don't concede 90 points in the finals, especially if a team that has been holding opponents to under 70, because averagely Namblazers has been scoring 76 points, and when you let a team score 90 points, that is poor.
Lots of work to do for Namblazers in that final. They are 2-0 down. I don't know if they have the comeback ability in them to be able to overturn that in a 7. You're now starting to think about the sweep as well. But you're hoping that they can be able to come back and push this up to get all the way to game 7. JK Dolphins and JT Jaguars, how is their series?
It's 1-1. But just before I get onto the JK series, one thing with Namble, probably something that their fans will kind of hang on to is that they can score. Okay, scoring, they can score. What they cannot do is defend. At least for the 2 games, they have not defended particularly well. If they push up there, probably they have a chance and maintain the same kind of scoring. But in order to do that, I think they need a little bit of composure, especially in the final phases of play. I mean, when you take the lead, you don't want to get too excited too quick. And then you relax on defense. I thought in some situations that is what happened. Of course, not withstanding the quality of umpiring, especially in game 2, but the baseline is they have got to defend better than they did, I think, in game 1. Now, the ladies' finals, I think that is what somebody would describe as a battle. For those who pretty much don't know, is that JT Jaguars, you can say it was cut off from JK Dolphins. Okay, JT, the proprietor of JT Jaguars, was with JK Dolphins before going off to start the JT Jaguars. So there is some sort of small mini rivalry there, and of course, in terms of approach, you can see on the court hard fouls, aggressive, every kind of hard basketball that we will see. It's what is being played between these 2 teams. But the difference is that I think when you talk about conditioning, a team that can play throughout the game, I think JT Jaguars are well conditioned. They can play a little bit longer. When you're talking a little bit of when it is now calm down and then try to make something happen and that kind of stuff, you'd think it is JKL. But that also has to come with, again, you always talk about better be lucky than...
better to be lucky than to be good.
Yeah. I think yesterday...
So who has the luck?
Yesterday, JKL had a lot of luck. None of the teams played particularly well, especially offensively. It was a bad game of basketball to watch. Very, very bad game of basketball to watch.
If you'd call it to the ladies series, who do you think will go all the way?
You want this is a series that can go to seven games for sure.
If it goes to game 7, who pick a winner?
I'm leaning towards Jetty.
Okay.
I'm just leaning towards Jetty. But and that is based off the fact that if it gets to a point of where you just need one defensive possession, I think they are able to execute that. I think they are better defensively than the JKO Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think they are more mobile, they are more agile, they can slide a little bit more. They, as a group, they are a bit youthful.
Yeah.
You know, they can play the entire time. I don't think JKO can match that kind of energy if they put themselves in a position where you have to play defense the entire time. But again, you cannot rule out experience.
Keyword Franklin used there is youthful.
Yes, also Franklin talked about conditioning. And fun fact, I think the JT conditioning coach is Coach Leo Lubambula of the Walukuba Barbarians. On Friday when Franklin saw the Walukuba Barbarians at the arena, he told me that and indeed they didn't go. They awarded the Chigezi Silverbacks a walkover, but Castor, they enjoyed it.
So there's a bit of and that is something I've learned from the Olympic spirit, where our sports sort of need to learn how to collaborate with each other so that we can be able to help themselves. But the City Oilers, I mean the Namblazers, need to come back from a 2-0 down. The ladies finals is 1-1.
The response has to be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. I mean, if you lose 3-0,
you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to win every game.
Yeah, 3-0 will be, I think, a very big task. Yeah. From
there
there on, City Oilers just need to win one game and then they will be crowned champions. So,
but again, in 2022, Namblazers were down 3-1, and they went to game saying so they have the ability to win 2 consecutive games.
All right,
let's wait and see.
We'll wait and see.
But
and of course,
they need Tony Drillebo on the floor very, 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 very fast.
Why isn't he playing?
Rather than coaching, I think he has a foot injury. That's why he's not playing. But they need him on the floor to control those tight moments of the game where you need a little bit of patience to execute and all that. I thought that missed yesterday when they were, I think, 2 points up with about 3 minutes to play, and all they needed is to be a little bit in control of every possession, and that did not happen. Peter Obleng was just running all over the place and turning over the ball, and in a final like that, it sometimes can come down to those small margins, that is where I think Tony Drillebo takes charge to control. If anybody who saw the UCU series, game 3 especially, it had to be Tony Drillebo to control that game for Namblazers to win.
All right, comeback ability for Namblazers, and it's tied for the finals of the ladies, and they'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. Tomorrow. The finals will continue at the Logogo Indoor Stadium, but just be sure that we'll bring you all the details here on Kawowo Sports. And maybe just before we go to the basketball, just a simple mention: Vipers failing to progress in the Champions League after everyone being for them against the league, and then it felt like everyone was not for them when they were trying to overturn, you would say, 2-0 advantage for the Lusaka Dynamos. And again, we shall not have a Ugandan team in the Champions League.
The fight was not for the Champions League. The fight was for the Premier League.
Yeah,
you're on your own.
Like friends of convenience. I don't like that friends of convenience.
It also happened to be that the Champions League came at a time when Fofoso made it, reverting. So the fans who would have been their side, all of a sudden everybody went to their own side.
I mean, people came out to support them when they played here, but lost 2-1. And then, of course, when they went to Zambia, it did 1-1, but 1-1 wasn't enough. They needed a 2-0 advantage for them to progress.
To be honest, in Africa, especially for smaller teams, I mean by small teams, I'm talking about teams that are not of high profile. Of course, Vipers is big here, but on the continent is
still a small boy.
For teams
small
that
fish in a big pond.
Yeah, for teams that are at that level, your home advantage has to count by all means. You don't want to leave home with defeat. It doesn't matter how. And I thought that after that loss at Chitende, it was always going to be very, very, very hard for Vipers to overturn that defeat into qualifying for the next stage. I thought, I mean, when you get a draw that puts you at home first, it also puts a lot of pressure on you, obviously. And if you don't convert that pressure into a win, it's always going to be hard to go out and win again. And it is the same thing anyway that happened with NEC when they couldn't win at Netball. There's no they were going to win in Nairobi. So I think in this competition, when you are a lesser team, home advantage has to count. If it doesn't, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Yeah. But if you compare that to Tanzania, who have 4 teams in the Champions League, that shows you that there's still a lot of work to do for Ugandan clubs for them to become regulars at that level and sort of compete with the best teams in African football.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we faced is, as a country, is, I hate to say it, but when KCCA chose to go the wrong direction, I thought they were at a point where they were kind of taking off and making Ugandan football a bit more regular on the continent. But then when they fed off completely like that because of course, the change of leadership at the club, it made the work even, we kind of went into a reset mode, like we're now starting afresh.
Yeah.
And it needs to have another investment. The club has to make another investment of like 5 years of trying to create a group of players that will get over the top.
Yeah, you fear for the new Vipers coach. Hopefully he can keep his job because what he's going to do this season is what Ayala and Fred Mohumuza did. So your job was to take the team to the next level, and if you don't, then things become very, very difficult. But of course now Vipers, their focus now turns back to the league, where they'll be playing in a format they are familiar with, and hopefully they can be champions and try and get back to the continent. Yeah. But now to the conversation that Joseph is very, very familiar with. And he will take the lead on this one. Maybe just start with some sad news there from the rugby fraternity. The Entebbe Mongas losing one of their founder members. And we've just been speaking about it. I've read the story on Kawowo Sports by David Isabi. David Isabi also comes from Entebbe, so I'm sure he knew Ronald that much. Yep. Another unfortunate incident, unfortunate loss. I don't know if you want to, you could call it unfortunate. You don't want to sort of relate it to him playing the sport and just sort of just take it as, man, it was just his time and then he tapped out.
Yesterday on Sunday, I was talking to some of the people from Mongas, and they said that they actually trained with him on was it Thursday? Yes, they had a training session on Thursday. Since Mongas was having a bye weekend this time around, they weren't having a fixture. Yeah, so he was sort of coaching them and helping them out with those contact zones and how to play, in contact. And then they say that after that training session, he was very fine. He went home. And then after that, the next news they're receiving is that Adigas has collapsed and he has passed on. It's quite, unfortunate to, pass away in that manner, especially for a former sports person who has been active and is still active in the sport. It's quite unfortunate.
A very big loss. Of course, the last time Uganda smiled to the African title. In 2007. Of course, he was one of the props for Uganda, and such a big loss.
Is it too soon, or doesn't? I'm not just saying rugby, but doesn't sport need to take these things serious? Even in cricket, it happens. Sometimes the ball hits you on the head. You just go home, take a icy, we sort of move on, but there's no follow-up of like, Dennis took a hit yesterday. Let's just check to make sure everything is still okay.
No, but then there are certain protocols that are meant to be followed, especially when there is a sort of a head injury or head contact. First of all, the rules of the game itself prohibit contact above the shoulders. But then when a player is suspected of maybe taking that contact, they are obviously supposed to do an HIA, head injury assessment. And they're also supposed to get off the sport for some while, no physical activity, and sort of recover. But then when you look at the bigger when you look at the bigger setups, say for example in New Zealand and England, they were sort of experimenting with mouth guards that can tell that contact. In case you get into contact, your mouth guard is able to send a signal to to whoever is in charge of that technology that player X needs to be assessed before they can sort of continue. But it being a sport, and especially a contact sport, such things, we don't want to say that they can't be avoided, but they do happen. All we can do is try to, sort of mitigate either the effects or stop them from, happening every so often.
Yeah. All right. May Ronald Soul rest in peace, and a big loss to the Entebbe Mongers fraternity. We hope that you can be able to carry on his good work. I think the best way to celebrate him is by making sure that the Mongers continue to grow that legacy in Entebbe of the game of rugby. But to go to the rugby conversation, first of all, let me start with a question I've been wondering. The Uganda Cup has sort of been, do you want to come? Yeah, I don't want to come. So first of all, to start with the women's teams, a lot of them pulling out of the Uganda Cup. But even there have been a couple of walkovers. Impis threatened. They played under protest against Heathens. But eventually, I know a friend of mine who said she had been planning to go and watch the game. Then she read the story somewhere that the game has been called off, so she cancelled all the plans. And then I told her, no, but if you follow Kawowo Sports, Impis played. Like, I'd read somewhere that they're not showing up, so I changed my mind and went. I changed my mind and went to do other things. But so, what is it? Is it like it's not mandatory? The way teams are very involved in the 15s and the 7th season. The Uganda Cup has seemed like.
It's not a competition.
Yeah, I'll show up if I want to. I mean, Walukuba prefer to watch basketball than travel to to Chisoro.
Uganda Cup has sort of been a mere suggestion, as we say, because first of all, Black Pearls, I was talking to one of their coaches, and she told me that for them, from the start, they elected not to register to participate. So we can't say that they pulled out. However, it is the Thunderbirds that sort of elected to pull out and not play that tournament, which means that now, at least in the women's category, we are going to have a new winner. Okay, we are going to have another winner in Ugandan rugby. The Black Pearls won the 15th season, and then the Thunderbirds won the 7th season, and now they are not involved in the Uganda Cup. So probably we see now Rapids coming back to defend its title, but then the now Rapids have already lost a game in the Uganda Cup that they have played against the Youths who belong to Rams. And then you see other teams, for example, the Avengers, they're also playing, but they're not that top quality that they have always been. So anyone can win it in the women's category. But for the men, I think this format started, I think, about a season ago. This format where they get clubs and then put them in groups, and they play the group format and then go on to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. It started about a season ago, but previously what would happen was there would be, of course, 10 premiership sides plus 6 regional sides that would sort of play. They play they play top 8 versus bottom 8, and from that they would go straight to the quarterfinals. And then from there, the top sides that have gone to the quarterfinals play for the cup, and then the bottom sides play for the Uganda Shield. Now, that was a shorter format, and it was more efficient because then teams can prepare for their movements very well. And by the end of the first round, you would guess that teams like Gulu City Falcons and Mbale and they would be eliminated already. So it sort of limits the transport costs that teams have to incur. So you find that the top 8 are now going to play for the cup, and then they are side the shield. But most importantly, in the cup, you will find that these are the teams that are within the central region, and they are able to play against each other. Now, what is happening currently in the Uganda Cup, it's quite unfortunate that there have been very many walkovers. On the first weekend, there are 2 walkovers, and then also this weekend there have been 2 walkovers. Obviously, the Barbarians watching basketball instead of traveling to play the Chigezi Silverbacks. The Rhinos traveling all the way to Gulu to play the Gulu City Falcons. Then they reach there is no ambulance, and that was the story for the first weekend also. When the Cobs traveled to the Cobs traveled to Kakira, and then the ambulance was ill-equipped. It was under-equipped, should I say. And there was also another walkover in there. So it's for the competition. First of all, it takes out that sort of gas because this time round the Cobs elected to go to Fort Portal to play the Fort Portal Tyrants, and that was a game that they really needed because when they played against. When they played against, they didn't play against Kakira, but that was a walkover, which meant that they would only get 20 points and no bonus point. So this time round, I was speaking to Makumbi, and that story is coming, who has been the captain of the tournament, of the campaign. Makumbi said they had to make sure that they travel to Fort Portal so that they put on a very big margin and win that game, otherwise they wouldn't get another bonus point. Now, the game in Fort Portal began at 5:30 p.m. and they played a total of 50 minutes. But in those 50 minutes, they managed to put 102 points against the Fort Portal Tyrants. Now, what if that played the full 80 minutes?
Yeah.
But what we were told is that the Cobs really emphasized and said, we must play this game because we have to get that bonus point. And that has also become the story of the Uganda Cup. Last week, we saw Pirates going to Kabale and winning by 154 points. And I think it doesn't look good for the game. The walkovers and the high scores do not look good for the game. Yeah. But that is the format that they have chosen, and those are the results we are seeing. Very many games, some of them really not producing the quality that we would expect, and then others, just simply not being played.
I think you would look at it from their side that maybe the union wants to give an opportunity for up-country sides to get some quality opposition because anyway
spread the game.
They take because the central teams can afford to travel, and so they kind of go and see the superstar that they have been seeing on TV kind of playing there. Obviously you want to believe that these up-country teams take some bit of lessons from that beating that they always get. Obviously. So,
Frank, if you're a player,
I wanted to ask Joseph. I wanted to ask Joseph.
Is it not from losing? The lesson, I think, is from the approach.
I wanted to ask Joseph. Is the carrot on the stick good enough for teams to play?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is because
there even a carrot.
There is only the stick. First of all, the subsidies are very little and they come very late. Imagine getting a subsidy.
So I imagine enduring going to Fort Portal on that road to play a game.
Going to Fort Portal to play, and then the subsidies are coming on Saturday morning when you're supposed to be playing at 4 p.m. Now, some teams will use their own money and maybe travel and rest, then play the following day. Now, you've gone through all that, and then you reach and they tell you that the ambulance doesn't have a neck brace, or the ambulance doesn't have a hardboard, or it doesn't have a stretcher, and now you have traveled for nothing, you're not going to play. What we are advising other teams...
But the guy who brought the ambulance, what was his plan? He had brought a means of transport?
He had just brought a van.
Teams should start going with them.
You're supposed to go with your own ambulance.
Makes no sense. It has no hardboard, has no neck brace, so you just brought a means of transport.
Ideally.
No.
So for teams that are electing not to play, the Uganda Cup manual says that a team shall be fined 600,000 if they fail to honor their fixture. And then, of course, there was a clause of 200,000 to get into the tournament. Now, you get into the tournament, you're not being subsidized adequately, and then when you miss the game, you're fined. I think it just makes the whole situation more absurd for the teams. And we would really understand if at all a team elects not to travel and they put their resources elsewhere, because you have 4 games in a group. If you decide you won't play against the Silverbacks and then you play again, now that is in Walukuba's case, you won't go and play against the Silverbacks, but you'll make sure that you win all the other games that are more accessible to you. You can still make it to the quarterfinal stage, or you'll most probably land on a central team or an eastern team, and that's where the real competition begins from.
Doesn't it also come at the back end when you sort of, have gone through a grilling season, 15s rugby, 7s rugby? Do you still have enough legs in the team to carry a team through another 3 games? If you're going to go all the way, that's 3 plus another 3, which is about 6 games of 15s rugby.
First of all, I think, and this is a personal opinion, I think that the way the calendar
Disclaimer.
This is not Kawowo's opinion. This is Joseph's opinion. I think
which one, Owino or Mohomes?
Joseph Mohomes, not Owino. Yeah, so I think the way the calendar is set up is almost flawed because ideally Uganda Cup used to start the season.
Yeah.
So you start with the Uganda Cup, get a feel of the 15s rugby, then you get into the 15s, and then you play the 7s to sort of finish off the season. But now you find teams in sort of a situation where they have to play 15s, then play 7s, then come back to 15s.
Yeah.
And it's really not, for teams that want to prepare better, that causes some sort of problem for them because the players that you need to play your 15s are ideally not the players that you want that are going to play your 7s. So it really disorganizes teams in terms of preparation. But this Uganda Cup ending the season was a thing our good friend Shafiq sort of spun to say that now Uganda Cup is going to finish the season. But the truth is they didn't have money.
Yeah.
They didn't have money to play Uganda Cup at the beginning of the season.
So maybe they
Now
could have
to play it at the end.
waited it out this year, then use it as the season opener for next year, for next season next year.
Exactly.
I think for them it's about activities. They want players to be engaged as much as possible. Obviously, in Uganda we don't play enough games.
Sometimes I feel like you're just ticking a box if teams are giving away walkovers.
That is what it is.
That's what the new format was addressing.
You're going back but I think for the union, when they signed that sponsorship about 2 years ago of Nail Special, you would think
maybe it could be one of the things that in your contract and MOU you have with the sponsor, this thing has to be done.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
The tournaments are in there. They are provided for when you look at that document that sort of laid out the sponsorship from Nail Special. The tournaments are laid out in there. Then you will find a situation where they are now organizing tournaments to sort of tick off activities and say we held the Uganda Cup, we held 7 circuits of the 7th season. Then now they are also playing University Sevens, another item that needs ticking off because if you see the quality at the University Sevens, you'll I don't know how to describe it, but the quality of rugby that is being played in the University Sevens is almost absurd because you find
better.
Almost, or I think absurd doesn't go with almost.
It does
It's absurd or not.
Yes, but you find about three universities that are actually competitive, and that's because they sort of rely on their players that play, that play in the different
league,
cups.
yeah.
So it becomes a little bit competitive at that level. But once you go out of the top 3, that is Victoria University, Uganda Matters, in Kozi, and then UCU, and then sadly Impis. Okay, not Impis. The mighty Makerere is not doing very well on that front. But the whole tournament leaves a lot to be desired, and that's why I'm saying that some of these tournaments are just activities to be ticked off.
We are
boys are focused
as
on
Fred
Uganda
gets
Cup with Impis.
Fred gets some interviews ready for. We are getting to the back end of the university. I mean, no, not the university, but to the back end of the Uganda Cup. University sport is something that Uganda needs to work on. University sport is such a big deal in South Africa and everywhere else in the world apart from in Uganda. So the time when Lawrence Matlani first came to Uganda, his big interest was looking at university sport. And then we just told him we don't have a university league. He's like, yeah, we don't have a university league. So it's like, where does everyone else go after from high school and into university? So university sport is something that I think Uganda needs to work on. Not just, I think the football guys have tried. It's just other sports.
It's a bit consistent.
Yeah, other sports just need to catch up with them. But let's listen to some interviews from Joseph speaking to some of the teams in the Uganda Cup as they get close towards
Talk about your team.
the business end of the Uganda Cup.
Talk about his...
In Africa? Yeah.
Not
one
just
university,
in
not just in Kampala.
Only 2, Makerere and Harvard.
Only.
Makerere Yonka. Yonka!
This is
Ivy League University, bro. Ivy League University, come on.
Impis is in the top 2 of our group, of the group.
Please don't cut that out. You said our group. I swear I can take you. I can be our group.
No, it's the group.
Gamba Impise.
Impis.
Okay, Me, as Nyombi, I have been at this club as a fan, as a PRO, as assistant TM since 2014. Today is one of the most exciting days for sure. We've beaten a league team. They were, I think, top 6 or top 8 last season. I didn't follow much because we're in the championship, and for me, I only follow my club. So for them to come here, they're a good team, and I can't take it away from them. They wear red. I don't know why. They should wear yellow, perhaps. But it was good to have them here. It was really good to have them here. They're a good team. They gave us a good game. Senior players, superstars. So for us to put our team together in such a short time, to beat them, I'm really, really proud.
Nyombia, a simple fact is that also the Victoria Sharks, they also wear blue. For that, yes.
I don't know about that. I don't know much about that team.
Yeah, so that is their home kit. They wear blue. But otherwise, back to the Uganda Cup.
Do they have home?
They play.
Okay.
Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. But back to the rugby. Back to the rugby.
Yes.
Obviously, we saw the last Uganda Cup final that was between the Heathens and the Rams.
Yeah.
Rams going all the way.
Yes.
And
they beat us in the quarters, I remember.
Yes, and they had a coin toss against the Mongers in the semis, and then they go to the finals.
Yeah.
Do you think the dream is realistic for this Impis team to get to the finals?
No, this team can win anything, bro. This team can win anything. Like, we lost against the Heathens last weekend, but we played a good game. And now we are happy that these boys are testing themselves against such opposition. Like I usually say, we've played 15s rugby since November 2024, and we've only lost 1 game to Heathens. We are almost making a calendar year, bro. It's just a few days away until we make a calendar year of only 1 15s game loss. So I believe in this squad. They're young boys. Most of them have just joined first year. We've welcomed back the superstars, Henry Sekuye. Man, he's the only guy I think the other guys are all still very young. So I believe these boys can win anything. I believe they can go all the way. And if we do get to the final, bro, whoever comes, man, better be ready, bro. Enogaba Ganyose, Impise. Yeah.
Final. But Nyombi, as we conclude, there is a rest weekend ahead.
Yeah.
There is a rest weekend ahead, and then after that, you go up country where you have to win with bonus points because some teams have been getting walkovers over there. What is the team going to use in this rest weekend to prepare for the up-country circuits, for the up-country games? So.
No, currently, I think of the teams that are playing in the league, I think we're the up-country experts. We beat the champions of every region. Yeah, last season as we're coming up. The champions of every region, east, west, north, Kumutwe, you get. So when it comes up country, you see how we won today at the graveyard? Up country, bro, that's actually not like our home away from home. So up country, I'm not even scared. We're going to kill people. Today we've gone fishing. Have you ever tested shark?
No, I've never.
I'm testing shark tonight. You can come, you can test some shark. Victoria, man, I love you guys. Don't take me so wrong. I love you. You're a good team. The coaches, I love them. There's even a player there called Owen. He's the prop, came on with a headgear. I work with him. I love that team. Yeah, I love that team. They're working very well. But today's about us, man. We've waited so long for such a day. I'm really proud of the boys. I'm very grateful for the win. Up country, we are coming. Yeah, you can make it as hard as you want. We shall win. MPC. Arrogance.
I'm not responding. Thank you very much. So Nkamba, the future only ends this year. When the Uganda Cup concludes, what are your targets? And don't say you'll go Wolves.
Not to lie to you, at this point we have to sit down as a technical team and rethink. We intended to use Uganda Cup to build our squad, to get confidence in them. But I believe we undermined ourselves, we underlooked our potential. It's so good that the boys are believing, the boys are giving us a bit of a headache as a technical team. Here we are, going into game 3 with a win. That yes, we deserve it because of the show we put. But like I said, maybe what I can tell you, a target that we did pick is we defended our home ground. The target was to finish 2025 with no loss at the graveyard. And I believe this is our last game at the graveyard this year. We've given our fans what they deserve. The players have gotten the belief they deserve. What a way to close off the year 2025 at the graveyard.
So now you're remaining with Elgon Wolves, and you're probably going to the quarterfinals. All factors staying constant. Are you ready for that stage of the competition?
I can assure you we're already at the quarterfinals, so we're preparing for who we are going to verse at the quarterfinals. So the rest is going to be a sail. We're going to just be smoothing through, so I'm sure we're through to the quarterfinal.
news has been going around that you have some incoming players, but for the players you have around right now, how are you preparing them better to recover from this loss?
Training.
Yes, in terms of preparation.
Yeah, we have to regroup real quick. We have to set up the pace and concentration right away from the training sessions. We have training on Monday and on Wednesday. We hope to go through everything that has made this a loss today and turn it around with practice.
Realistically, Heathens is the last hurdle. Heathens is the very last hurdle, and you're familiar with this Heathens team because you've been there, you've played for them, and you know how it works. But it is the last step. It is the only team that is standing between you and the quarterfinals of the Uganda Cup. What are you going to do right in that fixture?
Preparation. There is nothing more. We can't shy away from the fixture. We have to prepare ourselves better. We have to make our intentions clear, and we have to make it reasonable to the boys who participate on the day that we really need the win and they have to perform to their expectation.
Kawowo Sports, thank you very much for representing and loving rugby. Best in the land, man. Best in the land. I always believe in this brand. Kawowo Sports to the world. Nyongereo kachawa koluzungu mpaka kagambo koluzungu nga kazibu nnyo katekemu. Kawowo Sports, the diabolical machination of rugby.
All right, thank you very much. We have been right here at the Makerere Rugby Grounds, better known as the Graveyard, where the Makerere Impies have won against the Victoria Sharks. But earlier on, the Pirates won a very difficult game against the Mulago Rams. The Rams holding them in the first half, but then obviously the Pirates bringing on the big guns in the second half with Sydney Gongodio and William Corey coming off the bench to secure them that win, which makes it 2 wins for the Pirates, and today it makes it 1 win for the Impies. And also the Victoria Sharks test their first defeat in the Uganda Cup. Obviously the Uganda Cup is still going on until December, where one winner from the whole nation will be crowned the Cup champion of Uganda in rugby. And for that, from Kawowo Sports and from everyone behind the camera, thank you very much, and we are out.
Yeah, a lot of arrogance in that conversation. Eh? I don't know if you guys tasted some shark that night, but of course, the Impies
needs to be arrested.
Yeah, the Impies at the Graveyard dealing with the Victoria Sharks that has put them in a good position to qualify for the semi-finals, the quarterfinals of the Uganda Cup. And maybe that's why I'll put it for Joseph. Who are the teams that are looking like they'll be involved in the business end of the tournament?
First of all, in that Impies group, there is Heathens and Victoria Sharks. Impies came into the group as the third seed, but now they are looking more comfortable to make it to the quarterfinals, which means that Heathens and the Victoria Sharks are no longer our problem. They can sort themselves. They can sort themselves and choose who goes to the quarterfinals with us because we are already there.
I like it when you kind of belong to
but then in the other groups, Waluku have made things hard for themselves. On the opening weekend, Waluku were lost to the Mongas. I think it was 14-8, and now they also gave away walkover against the Chigeze Silverbacks. So that makes it 2 losses for them, and which leaves Pirates now to decide amongst themselves and Mongas who goes as the first seed to the quarterfinals. But elsewhere, I think whatever is happening is meant to be happening the way it is. The Cobs winning games, the Rhinos are winning games. So we expect to see the traditional top 8 in the quarterfinals of the Uganda Cup. And as for the women
this man is calling Impies a traditional top 8.
Yes, former league winner, former sevens winner. Surely, it's not just arrogance. It is something that
we're
comes
about to send Impies an invoice, a draft. The amount of airtime that Impies gets on the show.
But interestingly, the first game of the day there, that was the Rams versus the Pirates.
Rams is still down. Have they gotten promoted?
No, Rams are not promoted. Yeah, we made sure that they're not promoted by beating them in that.
No, we missed the Graveyard Derby.
Yes, but Rams really played a very good game against the Pirates in the first half. The Pirates sort of threw away their game plan and started playing to Ramsey's game plan, which is basically Yingiza Kanyama, just bang, bang, bang. And every time they did that, the Rams, who are very good at holding up in order to kill the ball, the Rams were holding them up, and then that means that possession has to go to the defending team when that ball dies, when it becomes unplayable. But then in the second half, I think with the introduction of William Nkore, Nkore did all the basics of a number 10, distributing that ball very well because the starting fly half, who was Isaac Massa, was sort of also taking in that contact. We know he's a big boy, but I think he would forget to distribute. He would forget to move that ball and carry it himself. And then also their centers, Jones Kamiza and Eric Mulamula, they were also very big on that contact, which took them nowhere ideally. But when William Corey came on, he started pulling all the right strings, and the Rams eventually opened up. But also the Rams managed a try of their own, which was a very good try, I must say, winning back possession from almost the halfway, and then running that ball. My good friend Solomon Ariampa running that ball, and then eventually offloading to Regan Mungo, who got the only try of the day for the Rams. Now, with that victory for the Pirates, it means they are comfortably in the lead. They are comfortably in the lead to go to the quarterfinals, and that also means that now a very interesting fixture has been set up between the Rams and the Mongas, because if Franklin, you can remember last season, the game between the Rams and the Mongas went into extra time, and there was still no winner, and then they had to toss the coin in order to get a winner, and that is how Rams ended up in that final where it didn't belong, being washed by Heathens badly. Because clearly you don't toss your way to the final and think you'll compete favorably, but no disrespect to them, they are a very good team. Although right now they are a bit lacking in numbers, they had only about 3 substitutes on their bench when they played against the Pirates. Worthy to note is that we were with most of the players, some of the Rams players in the stands. The Hashim Kabogos, the Ozana Opileni, were seated with them right there in the stands, and they're not on pitch, they're not injured. One could probably think about the release clauses that they have in their contracts.
I think about next year already.
Going for 50 million in Ugandan rugby, very unheard of. But I think for them now, they have been left in a position where they pick and choose when to play, because they are not leaving soon. Yeah. They were given 5-year contracts. They are not leaving soon. Of course, you talk to them, you talk to some of them after the games or even during training sessions, and they're like, man, I would have moved a long time ago, but I have, like, the contracts that we signed are quite long, and the release clauses in there are quite hefty, so it makes it hard for them to move on. And I don't want to say that I support that industrial action, but good on them to know what they want and to sort of stick to it.
And they didn't know when they were signing the contracts. You want to say?
Exactly.
I'm not that kind of person who really feels sorry for players that choose to sign contracts.
Yeah, some of them are manipulative in that way. Yeah.
Without getting somebody to read it for you, or without reading it yourself and understanding it. I don't think that is a normal, especially for a person who has gone through, who has gotten some education to sign paper like that.
You can always sign a 1-year deal, and I will always give you first option if I'm still interested in staying.
In an amateur sport, how can you sign a long contract? Anything about 3 years,
it's a cardinal sin. Yeah,
and I sort of support you, Franklin, because if you remember that mass exodus that was there about 2 or 3 seasons ago, when the Rams introduced those reforms within their squad that you must sign for 5 years, you must have a release clause of about 10 million or more, and all that within their contracts. Very many players decided to leave, and I think that was their window to also leave. But if you decide to stay and sign the contract, then you have to stay and play.
Yeah, you play under our terms. Yeah, but those are the details from the Uganda Cup, which is happening. They take a break this weekend, and they will be back for the final games of the first round to find out, to separate the men from the boys in the Uganda Cup. But I want to close it here, guys. Fred is not very happy with your timings, but we'll definitely be back next week for another episode of the Weekly Wowos. I've had the pleasure of hosting the rugby connoisseur, Joseph Man Muhumuza, and giving too much airtime to Impis Adraf. Expect an invoice from us because
man is taking it for granted now.
He's starting to misuse company airtime on Impis. I mean on Impis. And we've also had the editor of Kawowo Sports, Franklin Kawowo. And I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali. And as always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports so that you don't miss a game.
Exactly.